Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to this night's Q&A live. I am Martin Sharp, and tonight we're going to be looking at Brexit and all that jazz. But before we get started, I'd like to see lots of hearts, lots of fingers, etc. going up on the comments, just to make sure you guys can hear me. I know we've had a few technical problems on the previous few, so I have got myself prepared. I'm listening to it on my phone, so hopefully you guys can hear me okay as well. So we'll be just waiting for a couple of minutes, see who else actually joins us. And like I say, tonight, if you've got any key questions, as always, then please make sure you do get them into the group so that we can start to look to answer those as we go throughout this evening. So as tonight, we're going to be looking specifically around Brexit and what are some of the kind of key questions, key issues that are coming up with Brexit that you might not know about and that you might not have actually planned for. It'd be great if you have. But if you haven't, that's what the whole thing is going to be talking about this evening. How can we do something good with regards to what's happening in the new year? So, just with a minute or two longer, I can see you there. Hi Janine, hi Frank, hi Sven, hi Colin. I hope you guys are having a great evening wherever you are in the world tonight. And let's make a start. So, Brexit. Why did I decide to talk about this now? Well, the key thing is, obviously, we're now about 2 months away from what could be announced as being the next UK Brexit. If that's actually going to happen, I don't know. I think it's anyone's guess. I'm sure someone's making a bit of money out of this somewhere along the lines, including the bookies, in making sure we're all constantly guessing as to what's going to happen next. But there are some serious concerns, really, especially if you are a UK company and you're looking to do business outside the UK, or if you're a European company and wish to continue to trade with the UK. And how that and what's going to happen after that. So I thought we're going to go a little bit more back to some of the basics, effectively answering the question, what is a business? Because to look at actually some of the problems we're going to have with Brexit, we really need to look at some of the fundamentals of a business and how it works. So we'll quickly canter through this because you guys know lots about a business anyway, but a business basically deals with two things. It's either goods or services, and they're there to satisfy a customer need. So we either supply goods as in something that's a product base that the client can take away with them, or services is something that they won't take away with them, but something that they can certainly use, or certainly something that they will have done with them. So for example, things like hairdressers or sales or marketing, they're all service kind of businesses, and so interesting what the service does for them. The next thing we need to kind of think about when we think about how businesses work. Thank you for the thumbs up there, whoever's heard me, that was great. So thinking about how business actually works, then businesses come down to like three key items. You've got input, a production and output, or input, process, output. And at each stage of this kind of chain, that's where we add value. And this is kind of where the first piece, when we start thinking about Brexit, really comes into mind. Because for us to be able to create goods and services, we need to have customers to be able to take our outputs on board. Hey, great, loving all the thumbs up now. And we also need to have inputs in the way of being like raw materials or things that we're going to actually use to make added value for that. And these chains, we've shown this quite simplified, but these chains can go on and on and on. These are known as a supply chain. So to wrap this piece up, thinking about what is a business and the basics of them, then we can think about this in kind of three key sectors. We have the primary production sector, which is all really about the raw materials. Then we have the secondary production sector, which is all about businesses in the middle that are taking those raw materials or taking materials from somebody else and creating something. They're creating a product out of it or a service. And then from there we get the tertiary business, which is really where a lot of the service-oriented business is coming, which is how we then actually supply the end customer, the end consumer, effectively. Now, the end consumer in some cases can be another business. That doesn't make a sense. That doesn't make any difference. But when we start thinking about this from our business point of view and thinking, actually, well, how is Brexit going to affect us? We now can see that actually these value chains and these supply chains that we start creating as part of our business really start to unwind if there's going to be some kind of interruption in trade and trade negotiations. And the reality is that's where we are with Brexit. We're in this position where there is going to be some disruption into trade. So let's think about it in a slightly different way and look at a different model. So I want to look at this specifically for your business. Now, thankfully, I don't need to do all the work myself, as I always like to say. It's good to lean on other people. And for this, we're going to lean on a guy called Porter. And Porter created a thing called a value chain. where he basically split it down into a number of key areas. So you have the kind of pieces that actually make up your service or your goods. So you start off with the logistics inbound. So think about, from a point of view, where do you actually get your materials from? Now, you may think, actually, I'm a service-orientated business, so I don't really build anything, I don't create anything that creates great products. But the thing is, you'll still take in materials that you're going to be using. Now, where do you actually buy them from? Even if it is things like paper or stationery, maybe it might be other consumables like books that you have printed, etc. For example, if you're using Amazon Print on Demand service to provide your books, then most of those books are actually printed in Poland when it comes down to the European area. So how's that going to affect things with you being able to make sure you're going to have a continuous supply of the materials that you need to make sure that you're servicing your customers in the right way? The next kind of thing for us to think about is how the machine works in our process. So we take these materials and we have to do something with them before we can actually send them out. So again, as a product-based business, this will be where you're combining these materials to create a product that's actually being able to give somebody. Even if it's something like a restaurant, you might be taking a minced beef, you might be taking burger buns, you might be taking lettuce, etc., and building a great burger that someone can eat. And all those kind of things come into it. So what is your operational process? Now, if you've done a great thing in your business and actually systemized your business and standardized it, then what you'll be able to do is very quickly look over that and then see where the weaknesses could be in your supply chain in regards to what you might actually need to change in your processes. So for example, if you were obtaining books from Poland, then you might need to think, actually, can I get another supplier for those books? Certainly in the short term, to try and at least manage your risk of what might happen in the new year. Now, thinking about what's next. So if we think about the next stage in any kind of process, you've got some kind of outbound logistics. So this is effectively your order fulfillment process and how you're going to make sure that happens. So in some cases, if you're an event-driven business and you're a speaker, then it might be a case that if you're doing works in the EU and you're traveling from the UK, then you may need to look at what the new trade agreements need to be. Do you need a visa in the new year? Anything is possible at this point in time, so be prepared that there might be some forms of delay actually getting those in place. Likewise, trade the other way around. If you're looking to speak into the UK, then that might also be something that you need to look into and just make sure that you are okay to be able to travel and not interrupt what you were planning on doing. Just give yourself that little bit of extra time when it comes down to doing your planning and making sure that you get everything in place. Even Jack the dog agrees. Anyway, next kind of item you kind of think about in your kind of key value chain is around the sales and marketing. So effectively, how are you going to communicate out to everybody? Because if some of these agreements change and you do have delays, then you need to make sure that communication is handled well, certainly with your existing client base and with any new clients, so that you set expectations early so that you can meet and exceed all those expectations in every single encounter. Because at the end of the day, that's what customers are looking for, is that how can you make sure that they have a guaranteed service and a great quality of service as well. And finally, in the kind of key value chain, we look at the service delivery element of it, and that's where we're looking at all those aftercare services, the way that we're delivering things. How do we greet people? How do we meet them? How do we do the implementations? How do we do the delivery if we're delivering a service, etc.? And make sure that's great. And this is kind of known as your primary service. So every single item in here counts towards your cost of sale. And if you look at your P&L, this is where a lot of these should be accrued, because effectively if you don't do any of those activities, then you've got nothing to have an outbound at the end of it. But there's more than just that inside your organisation. So kind of thinking about the other activities that are going in your business is really important as well. Now, this probably is less so when it comes down to what's happening with Brexit, but what it might be is if you've got things in your organisation where you're subcontracting out pieces of work to people that are in Europe or in the UK, then you might need to look at what are some of those subcontract arrangements and will they still comply with whatever rules are put in place in January. So what kind of things are we thinking about here? Well, there's things such as your firm's infrastructure. This is things like your management team, your finances, your legal, your planning activities, all those kind of things that kind of bind your company together and make it work. Even as a small one-person operation, you still are doing all these activities. It's just that these are all now on your shoulders alone. So actually taking that moment or two to think about actually, am I going to be affected? Have I outsourced any of those activities to people that might cause me a problem, and then actually work out what your contingency plan may need to be. You've then got things such as the human resources management. So again, think about if you are got more than yourself working in your business, you'll have employees, and therefore is there anything that you need to worry about with regards to their citizenship or with regards to their working visas or permits or anything. So thinking about how those may affect you in January is certainly something to take account of right now. You've also got your technology development. So this is around things such as any of your IT systems, if you're a manufacturing firm, it might actually be down to some of your nuts and bolts appliances as well that actually create some of these things. Because, for example, if you've purchased something from someone like Siemens and everything's been shipped over from Germany, then is it going to arrive on time? Are the equipment going to be there? Are you going to be able to get service when you need it from the right individuals? So thinking about specifically, what technology and whereabouts is it housed is going to be quite important to you in the new year. And again, it may be that nothing happens and we've got nothing to worry about, but it doesn't stop us doing those what-if scenarios now and just thinking about it, just to make sure we have a plan in place to make sure that we can mitigate any problems before they actually happen. And final kind of item to think about is the procurement pieces. So how you're dealing with your purchasing, how you're dealing with your accounts payable side of things, and making sure that those are all up to date and that you've got a really good and robust supply chain with regards to suppliers for all your materials. And if you do need to find some others, then there's lots of others available in the market space that you can take advantage of. And these are kind of known as the supporting activities that kind of support the main part of your business. And when you can think about it from your P&L point of view, these are the things that occur in the forgotten the term now, but in the part that comes off of your net profit. So these are your overheads. Now, it doesn't take a genius to realise now that if you add up all those costs that you've got inside your business, you need to apply a margin to that to actually make any money. And this is, if you've got it applied in the right way, then that way you can make sure that you're making money time and time again, even after Brexit. A big shout out to Paul. Good to see you on the line tonight. I hope everything's well. So that kind of gives us a little bit of an overview of my kind of thoughts on what's going to happen with Brexit. Some of this came from a briefing that I had with Goldman Sachs a few weeks ago, where they were talking about some sort of the key impacts for small businesses, and I thought actually it was quite a really good and solid topic that I thought I'd share it with you guys tonight. But yeah, if you have any questions, then please feel free to raise them, because it'd be great to try and get some questions in place and look to answer some of those questions, either about what's happening with Brexit or about anything that's specifically happening in your business that you might need a little bit of help with. If you just want to share, if you've had something absolutely fantastic happen to you over the last couple of weeks, then again, please feel free to share that with us this evening or at one of the future Q&A lives, and we'll quite happily be able to bring that into you. We will be looking to try and do another Q&A live just before Christmas. I've put the event already in the calendar, so please stick that in your calendar. The next one, if I went with the 2-week rule we've kind of got in place, means we would be doing one on Christmas Day, and although I'm sure I've got plenty of great gifts of information, knowledge and valuable experience to share with you, I'm not too sure you'll be over happy seeing me on a Christmas morning. I'm pretty sure you'll have much more important things to do with your life. But we'll be coming back in the new year. I have been speaking to David Marsh, as we talked about previously, and we're going to be getting a interview done with David, looking at specifically around some of the things that he does with organisations to deal with some great changes, actually applying some of the know-how around psychometric profiling and making sure you build an absolutely fantastic team around you. So that's going to be a great one to think about in the new year. And for the December Q&A, obviously we're still looking for any kind kind of ideas of what to put in there for questions, etc. Sven put up a great post looking for some advice and feedback around mindset, how to keep a positive mindset and how to keep yourself moving forwards, which is something we've touched on in a previous Q&A as well, but I think it's actually going to be a great one to go into, especially as we come up to Christmas, because I don't know about you, but Christmas is one of those great reflective times where you kind of look back at the year and kind of you can chalk up all those great successes, and it's definitely one thing to do is to make sure you do that, along with a little bit of planning. Although, to be frank, if you haven't started planning already, then it might be a little bit too late because you'll be doing a bit of a rush job towards the end of the year. So I certainly recommend, if you haven't started planning out what your first quarter and hopefully what your next 2 to 3 years are, you will at least start it straight away after this Q&A session. So I've got no questions coming in at the moment, so what I will do is I'm going to bid you a great good night. As per previous Q&A sessions, if questions do come up after we've closed the session down, then what I'll do is I'll look to answer those at the next Q&A session. It's been great having you guys here. I hope you guys have found this really useful and you'll be able to implement some of this and make your business work even better for the last month of 2019 and also all throughout 2020. This is Martin Sharp. Have a great couple of weeks ahead. Bye for now.